I find myself in a most unsettling circumstance, and frankly, I'm at a loss as to my next course of action. This all began 5 years prior when our neighbor Charles, or Charlie as we usually refer to him, shared with us the devastating news of his 14-year-old son's mysterious disappearance. This sad event was reported to the authorities and was broadcast widely on local news channels. My wife and I were deeply distressed, and we extended our support to them in every way possible. As the years rolled by, with no word about their son's whereabouts, we surmised that they had likely accepted the worst-case scenario. We never had the courage to broach the subject of whether their son's body had ever been found. From time to time during the warmer months, Charles and his wife Kathy would invite us over for a barbecue. We observed a profound change in their demeanor post their son's disappearance. Kathy turned more reserved and withdrawn, while Charles seemed to constantly be on edge. Both reactions understandable given their situation. A few years later, and only last week, Charles approached me as I was disposing of my household garbage, requesting to borrow a shovel. Without questioning his intentions, I promptly fetched him my finest shovel. He thanked me, briefly mentioning he had some gardening to do in his backyard, and promised to return the tool the next day before disappearing into his property. I retreated indoors, and from an upstairs window that overlooks Charlie's backyard, I observed him digging a sizable hole, appearing somewhat strained in the process. He is 56 after all. Motivated by a sense of neighborly assistance, I decided to help him out with my spare shovel. As I entered his backyard calling out his name, he looked up abruptly, dropped my shovel and rushed over, insisting that he didn't need any help and asked me to leave. Stunned by his strange reaction, I left without uttering another word. Back in my house, I couldn't resist spying on his backyard activities through the window. Charlie dug for another half hour or so, and then started looking around, seemingly checking if anyone was watching. Unfortunately, he spotted me. I backed away nonchalantly, but I knew he was hiding something, and I was determined to uncover his secret. I kept an eye on his backyard, but he didn't continue his digging. I assumed he had noticed my attention and decided to resume under the cover of darkness. My suspicions were confirmed when, at 1:30 in the morning, I heard the unmistakable sound of a shovel digging into the earth. In the pitch dark, I couldn't see from my window, so I decided to quietly sneak outside. Looking over the fence, I could see him digging again. When he momentarily disappeared inside his house, I seized the opportunity to examine the hole. Under the faint moonlight, I spotted a piece of a black garbage bag peeping from the bottom of the hole. I alternated between looking at his back door and the hole, contemplating whether to investigate further. In the end, I retreated back to my yard just in time as he reappeared seconds later. However, he didn't return to his digging. Instead, he vanished to the other side of his house and didn't return. I quietly went back to bed, careful not to wake my wife. The following morning, I saw that the hole had been filled, and Charles's SUV was now parked on the street, not his driveway. I'm haunted by the thought that he could have buried his son's body there and then removed it to dispose of elsewhere. All of this is conjecture, and perhaps my imagination is playing tricks on me. I've shared this with no one, not even my wife, and frankly, I don't know what my next steps should be. Charles has yet to return my shovel, and I'm not about to ask for it. He's been avoiding me ever since that night. A disturbing incident took place yesterday. I glanced out my window towards his house only to find him staring back at me. Upon being noticed, he hastily shut his blinds. This was in broad daylight. I'm genuinely terrified and uncertain about how to proceed.